This is the model that Senator Bob Dole presented to Congress for final approval for the memorial's design. This first picture is your memorial taken from the top of the Washington Monument. On the left side, you see the Pacific Archway. On the right is the Atlantic Archway. The plaza of the memorial is 337 feet long, 240 feet wide. There are two objectives that govern the design of the World War II Memorial. First and foremost, it honors a generation of Americans who changed forever the face of American life and the direction of world history. The second objective is the setting of the memorial into its preeminent context on the center line of the National Mall. The competition-winning design concept provides for a lowered Memorial Plaza that has a distinct sense of place. It not only allows maintaining the sweeping views between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument, but frames and celebrates them. It was long overdue. But know that you serve the grateful nation during some of our most trying times our nation has ever experienced. Also know that you are veterans of our greatest generation, led by example, and showed the rest of the country what patriotism was all about. Your memorial is a result of a design competition. Friedrich St. Florian, the world-known architect, was born in 1932 in Austria. He moved to the United States in 1961, where he became a U.S. citizen in 1973. His entry for the design of the memorial was chosen from over 400 entries. Your memorial adds to an entirely new type of memorial to Washington's unique memorial landscape. The peaceful gathering space around the basin of the rebuilt historic Rainbow Pool with its splashing fountains evokes celebration and contemplation. The basin of the pool is sunk 6 feet below grade. The grade contains sacred ground. It contains ground from all of our national cemeteries. The memorial celebrates the triumph of democracy in the 20th century while enriching the lives of all those who visit. The design development of the World War II Memorial between 1997 and 2002 was perhaps the most closely monitored design process of any major public monument in the history of the National Mall. 3 major commissions and federal agencies acted as guardians of public interest as well as standard bearers for the design excellence and urban design integrity. There were 22 public hearings that the public at large was invited to attend before the commissions and the federal agencies voiced their own opinions. Public involvement was reflected in nearly 1,000 newspaper articles across the country. Here is Senator Bob Dole, himself a World War II veteran. He was the man behind the movement to have the World War II Memorial built. Without his efforts, the memorial would have never been made possible. Here's a ground-level shot of the memorial looking from the Washington Monument towards the Lincoln Memorial. One of the issues in the placement of the memorial was that people were afraid it would spoil the open and clear view from the Washington Monument to the Lincoln Memorial. As you can see, it definitely didn't spoil anything. It actually beautified the view. Here you see a view from ground level of your memorial. The Memorial Plaza is the centerpiece of the memorial. The surrounding stone structures stand tall and silent like guardians that protect and preserve the legacy of World War II. The stone arches are full of meaning. 2 pavilions, one at the north, one at the south of the plaza, represent 2 principal theaters during World War II: the Atlantic European Theater and the Pacific Asiatic Theater. These pavilions honor the men and women who fought the war. Suspended laurel wreaths in each of the pavilions act as metaphors for the victorious warriors coming home. Finally, there are the waterworks, the fountains, the waterfalls, the pools that are the anima of the memorial. Their joyous animation, sound, and movements are celebratory in nature, recalling one of our nation's finest hours. Still, there's a fine line between celebration and glory. Wars must be remembered, but never glorified. Wars are destructive upheavals, causing unspeakable suffering to families around the world. There are times, however, when a free people are called to depend or defend their principles and ideals. World War II was such a moment in our time. This is a picture of a bronze medallion under the archways that are at the entrances to the memorial. Here, two archways, the Pacific and the Atlantic, represent the two main theaters during World War II. These arches are 43 feet tall. Standing under them, looking out at the basin of the memorial, is an awesome view. People feel very small. This is the Pacific Archway. Going down the walkway into the memorial on the left are pillars representing 48 states and the 8 territories during World War II. From the archway, the 4th pillar represents the state of Illinois. This is the Pacific Archway looking through to the Atlantic Archway. You can see the size of the people compared to the archway itself. The pavilions are surrounded by 56 stone pillars that are 17 feet tall. Each pillar represents a state or a territory during World War II. This is called the roll call of the nation, the home front standing in the active embrace, bonded at the bottom with a symbolic bronze rope. Here is the Atlantic Archway looking towards the Washington Monument. At the western side of the Memorial Plaza is the Wall of Freedom. There are 4,048 sculpted gold stars that remind future generations of the supreme sacrifice without which victory could not have been achieved. Each star represents 100 Americans who died during World War II. 404,800 Americans. A loving sacrifice made by so many, as well as their families. This truly beautiful view was taken behind the Wall of Freedom towards the Washington Monument. This is the tablet at the top of the grassy area going down to the memorial area. It reads, "Here in the presence of Washington and Lincoln, one the 18th century father, the other the 19th century preserver of our nation, we honor those 20th century Americans who took up the struggle during World War II and made the sacrifices that perpetuate the gift our forefathers entrusted to us, a nation conceived in liberty and justice." There are 16 different quotes engraved on the memorial. This one is by Admiral Chester W. Nimitz. It reads, "They fought together as brothers in arms. They died together, and now they sleep side by side. To them, we have a solemn obligation." Another inscription by the Atlantic Archway. "The war's end. Today the guns are silent. A great tragedy is ended. A great victory has been won. The skies no longer rain death. The seas bear only commerce. Men everywhere walk upright in sunlight. The entire world is quietly at peace." Here's a quote by President Harry S. Truman. "Our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude. America will never forget their sacrifice." This is a nighttime view of the Washington Monument. The inscription is by Franklin D. Roosevelt about Pearl Harbor. December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people, in their righteous might, will win through to absolute victory. Here's a shot of the center pool fountains, the very living center of your memorial. Here we have one of the bas-reliefs on each side of the grassy area going up towards the Washington Monument. Each of the bas-reliefs are handcrafted out of bronze, depicting different scenes during World War II. One of the bronze reliefs shows infantrymen somewhere in the jungles of South Africa. Transportation. Military women. Anti-aircraft turrets. The Army Air Corps. Paratroopers. A beach landing. Do you know this guy? Most people think from this generation that this is just a silly drawing. Do you know that there was one person who led or participated in every combat mission, every training mission, or occupation during World War II and the Korean War? This person could always be depended on. GIs began to consider him Super GI. He was the one who got there first, or somehow was there before they left. Of course, referring to Kilroy. Kilroy was here. Somehow this simple graffiti captured the imagination of GIs everywhere they went. This scribbled cartoon face showed up everywhere. Did you know but there was a real Kilroy? He wasn't a cartoon. Kilroy was actually James J. Kilroy, a shipyard inspector during World War II. He chalked the words on bulkheads to show that he had been there and inspected the riveting on a newly constructed ship, that it was safe to leave the factory. The troops on those ships, however, never knew his story. All they knew for sure was Kilroy was there. In reality, there were hundreds, maybe thousands of Kilroys who worked in our factories, providing the equipment and materials needed for our men to be successful. There's no doubt that the original urban design strategy, which was to create a public forum, an open, welcoming plaza, is the memorial's greatest asset. It is a forum that invites visitors to contemplate, reflect, and remember what has transpired in the past. Set between the iconic and towering memorials of President Lincoln and Washington, it speaks to the continuity of the ideals and principles of our founding fathers. Ladies and gentlemen, today we present to you the World War II Memorial. The World War II Memorial is not a memorial to war. It is rather a memorial to those who served to preserve our nation, those who paid the ultimate price of freedom for you and for me. The World War II veterans in this room today played a big part, a very important part, in serving our country. Men, women, thank you for your service to our country.